The argument is that ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, at any point in time, China can say, give us all the user data. And so that poses a national security threat. And that's technically true, I guess. There's no evidence that this has actually happened. There's a ton of evidence that other social media platforms like Oracle, like Facebook, have actually taken user data. Mark Zuckerberg took Facebook user data for his own personal purposes. So it is happening. Now,
Facebook has previously sold data to China. So I mean,
literally,
yeah,
literally, which is so wild to me. And so, like, if this was about protecting our data, which they need to do, by the way, because there are data brokers that sell our information. But if this was about that, they can easily.
It would be a broad law on every single social media platform, tech platform. But this is clearly a bill targeting TikTok specifically. Yeah.
Right. Well, and because I think because a lot of the Israel stuff. I mean, this came out with that whole thing from what's his Greenblatt. I don't even like to say that. He is like the spawn of Satan. Came out like however long ago that was, and now that's been like coming out. And again, I have been like this past week, like dialing for dollars like pretty incessantly. So I am definitely a week delayed on things. So I am I apologize. But no, this is all censorship about China. And quite honestly, and I say this completely seriously, I don't want anybody in my data. I don't. I actually think I might prefer people in China to someone like Jeff Bezos. Like, I don't know. I'd need to see who they were, who's going to be looking at my data. But quite honestly, why I've never cared about the nationality of my oligarchs. It does not.
I mean,
what is the Chinese government going to do with my data? What, arrest me? The U.S. government could do that if they have my data and they see something that they deem that they don't like or something.
Right. What's China going to do? Send you more ads or like promotions or like what? That's what.
Which is what Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and all these U.S. based platforms do. Like there is no difference other than the fact that it is a company based in a foreign country that members of U.S. Congress and the U.S. government don't like because they view them as hostile or they're, created a career out of being hawkish on that country because they view them as a competition. I mean, it's exactly what it is. I mean, and I've said this on other shows this week, but I should reiterate here the same point. During the Super Bowl, company named Temu showed Super Bowl ads multiple times. That's a China-based e-commerce website. Alibaba and AliExpress are two huge e-commerce platforms that sell that basically help connect manufacturers and factories in China and in other countries all over the world, very cheap labor countries all over the world, with U.S. business so they can manufacture goods, get materials, or just buy in bulk to drop ship or to sell. These are companies, Alibaba, AliExpress, Temu, based in China, who have way more sensitive information on U.S. users and businesses. They have your address because they ship to you, right? They have your financial records. They have your credit card information. They have your credit card numbers. Literally, the service they provide, providing the materials to all these big companies could put a stranglehold on the U.S. economy if they just decide to pull back or hold it, dangle it above our head, do something different. Yet you don't see them going after these e-commerce companies. Why? Because these e-commerce companies don't affect the politics. People can't share their ideological beliefs on it like they do on TikTok. They can't share news on like they do on TikTok. And so, they're not focused on those companies, even though those
same with
companies
Tencent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Tencent, one of the biggest video game companies in the world. They're not going after them. They own Epic Games, don't they? Like that's hundreds. Like I think there's 173 million video game players in China that play online games. Last time I looked it up, and that's a lot of people. Not to mention all the American audience of people. There's got to be millions of people who play those games. Millions and millions.
I think Tencent owns 40% of Epic Games, so that's probably why they can get away with it.
I was just going to ask if maybe one of you can explain to me why we're so scared of the Chinese. Because from where I'm sitting, they're not the ones terrorizing the world. So I'm just curious, like what
it depends. Republicans seem to really always want war with China.
I don't know.
Communism bad.
But I mean,
even though it's not a communist country,
they're not communists.
Like literally, there's major corporations. Some of the richest individuals in the world live in China.
Billionaires faster than any other country in the world. They mint billionaires faster than any other country right now. They are kicking the U.S.'s ass at capitalism.
So
but here's the thing too.
How is that communist? Like, how do people just because it's called?
It's because it's in the name. Just like everybody thinks that North Korea is a democracy because it's called, democracy.
China is an authoritarian country. They do, have human rights abuses. They do have issues, but in terms
they
of
heavily censor the internet.
Right. They heavily censor the internet, which of course, I mean, how can U.S. Congress use that point anymore? You heavily censor the internet. You don't let a China-based company run their platform here in the U.S. I mean, it's a bullshit sort of thing that we're going in that direction. But the fact of the matter is that when it comes to, they view China as competition and a danger, I guess. But the fact of the matter is, China cannot flourish without the U.S. and U.S. needs China. Like these two countries are tied at the hip. One buys from the other, one supplies for the other. They cannot. They cannot flourish without the other in the current global economy we live in. So the idea that they are even our enemy in that sense, like, yes, have a problem with the human rights abuses. We should be, but that's not why the Republicans are, they just use the Uyghur Muslims as like a cudgel. They don't really care though. That's just, what they say their problem with China is, but it's really not.
Well, I just think that when we have the amount of human rights abuses that we have, it's just hard for me to keep a straight face and went, well, but they have human rights abuses. And then listening to Nancy Pelosi, and we played the clip today on the show.
Tic-tac-toe.
Oh, she had a kente cloth moment of gargantuan proportions today with the TikTok.
I love that.
Oh, it's so ridiculous.
Why aren't we banning all these Chinese millionaires and billionaires who buy up property and land in the United States? Why don't we ban that practice? Wow. That's actually affecting people, driving up prices, putting actual U.S. land in the hands of people from a foreign country who aren't even living here. They're just buying it up as an investment to then make U.S. citizens pay even more if they're.
The answer was in your statement, though, like you just said, driving up prices. Hey.
Right, but we don't. That's fine. I'm being facetious
here. Hey.
Yeah. It's a
hell yeah, baby.
Right. But of course, we don't stop those practices. God forbid.
But she's sitting there and making it sound like she's almost doing it because of solidarity with the people of Tibet. So it's like, because China is so abusive, and the thing with the Uyghurs and they have human rights violations in Tibet. So because they suppress Tibet, we're now going to suppress you. Like, I don't, does anybody see the irony in that? And then I also think this has a lot to do with her in Taiwan. I don't know. I mean, the whole thing to me was weird, how she was trying to say that we're protecting you and then gives these reasons that have nothing to do with protecting us.
Yeah, I think it's a multitude of reasons, right? It's the anti-China fervor, but also both parties have their reasons why they don't like TikTok. Like, if you hear from Republicans, they constantly make dumbass comments about how TikTok is transing the kids. Democrats don't like that TikTok is undermining their legitimacy when it comes to the genocide in Gaza. So they both have their reasons. On top of that, there's also the corruption angle. Like, a lot of these politicians take money from Meta, including Nancy Pelosi, who I believe has stocks in Meta, and they heavily benefit from the death of TikTok.
That's one of the major drivers behind this that I think people overlook because they're so focused on the direct politics.
It's competition and getting rid of competition.
The U.S. tech companies are putting a lot of money in lobbying to ban TikTok because they couldn't beat TikTok. They tried to replicate it. Meta with Instagram and Instagram Reels, YouTube with YouTube Shorts, but Google and Meta are major drivers behind lobbying against TikTok. And then the news broke today that former Trump cabinet member and Hollywood producer Steve Mnuchin is already at work putting together a group of investors to try to buy TikTok when TikTok is ostensibly forced to sell. Now, I mean, it's pretty, but of course, Democrats are going to join Republicans in forcing TikTok to then, of course, sell to another Republican billionaire, a right-wing billionaire, a millionaire or billionaire or whatever.
Bobby
and then we got, right. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. We got, Elon Musk spreading great replacement theory on Twitter. Fomenting literal white supremacist hatred towards immigrants, transgender people.
Have you seen the stuff about Haiti?
Yeah, about Haiti. And listen, I'm not someone
here right now. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the U.S. government should step in and force Elon Musk to sell Twitter. That's not what I'm saying. But the U.S. government has huge government contracts with Elon Musk, with SpaceX. That's where they have every right to say, we don't like what's going on here. We can't put U.S. government, data, information, or money in the hands of this guy. We're ending those contracts. We're not working with him anymore. That they should do. But of course, there's no push to do that.
No.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel very safe and protected by Nancy Pelosi. Her karate chop is not making me feel really like, I'm safe. I'm just saying.
Yeah. The TikTok thing, it all feels very disingenuous. And you add insult to injury when they all pretend like this isn't actually an effective ban. No. We're just trying to make it better. I mean, but what happens if they don't divest within 6 months? What happens? They can no longer be offered in any app store. Like that's
which I think is impossible. I was listening to someone who knows about things like that, like how businesses sell and things. I know nothing about this, but that time frame is not possible. So that it is essentially a ban for them to be. They're not going to be able to divest in that amount of time. The amount that it needs to be done is what that's not my opinion. I heard somebody who seemed to know things saying that.
Also, this is going to get caught. This is going to get caught up in the legal process. TikTok is not going to just lay down.
I don't even think it's going to make it past the Senate.
They're going to sue. Well, if it was cut off anywhere, I would.
You don't think it'll pass the Senate? I don't know.
I think you're.
Well,
I think you're a little bit too. I don't know about that. I think it'll die in the courts. TikTok has won this battle in the courts already. Montana tried to ban TikTok already, and TikTok took them to court, and they won. It's so what's going to happen is either the courts are going to defeat it, or if this does actually happen, then I see a scenario where ByteDance ends up working out something with some sort of company where they retain like 40% or something like that. They're not going to give up TikTok completely. They're losing money on TikTok and they don't want to let it go because they know the potential there, because it is a growing platform. It has a huge user base, and other companies are foaming at the mouth trying to figure out how TikTok is so, like, the secret sauce is its algorithm. Other companies have tried to replicate the recommendation algorithm, which, it's super addictive. If you want to go after that, the issues with how these tech companies sort of draw people in to the point where they become addicted, I'm all for that. But that's, again, not TikTok only. They just happen to be really good at getting people addicted to the product, but same could be said for other platforms altogether.
You know what's the grossest thing about all this is it actually made Marjorie Taylor Greene have like a sentient point for the first time in her career.
I know.
She stood up and she's like, we shouldn't just be doing this to TikTok. We should do this to all social media companies that sell our data. I was like, oh my God, what?
I'm agreeing with her, and I'm like, this isn't good at all. Well, like a broken clock. I mean,
yes. Please don't get me wrong. I'm not giving it up to her. No, I never will. Yeah no.
It's important though, because you have to think about this. Marjorie Taylor Greene, a self-proclaimed Christian nationalist fascist, is to the left of the president and a lot of Democrats on a free speech issue.
They're not arguing.
It's for different reasons.
They're not arguing from the leftist perspective of it. The right wing.
I mean, I should say that they're further to the right than Marjorie Greene on this. Not that she's to the left, because I don't want to give her credit. But you know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. But their talking points on this have been completely different, and it's an imaginary argument they're making. That's not the case at all. They're claiming that this bill isn't really to go after TikTok. TikTok is just the Trojan horse to convince everybody it's a good bill. But the real target is like Rumble and Truth Social and Elon Musk's X, which is not true at all. Those platforms are completely not the target whatsoever, explicitly not the target, because they're not foreign owned, and that's the specific part in the bill. The bill is specifically targeting foreign owned social media platforms with specific wording that makes it clear that it's very targeted towards TikTok specifically.